Hello, and thanks for joining me again. So I'm still waiting on a part for the vertical stabilizer. So in the meantime, I started to work on the horizontal stabilizer, and the directions call for everywhere that the skin touches the front and rear spars of the horizontal stabilizer, you have to countersink, since they use 426 rivets. And there are 9 rivets in the middle of the rear spar that sit flush. So you just have to make sure that those are marked appropriately. I also have 2 countersink cages that are set for different rivets and depths. It does make it easy. I use a silver Sharpie and mark on the outside of that cage where the settings are. If I don't like it, I could just wipe it off with a little bit of acetone. And as you can tell, I just sit there and go down each spar, both sides, and start countersinking. It does take some time. The advantage of having the 2 tables together allows me to put those spars stretched across both tables. They fit rather nicely. Also, you can tell that my dimbler I moved off to the table in the back. I do put it in the middle and just clamp it down with some clamps. That way it doesn't move. Also, that there are some stringers that go at the top of the spars, some reinforcement stringers, and those have to be appropriately put in place and match drilled. One of the things I like to do, I like to sweep up the shop every now and then. I use the vacuum on the table, get all the little aluminum shards off. That way it prevents a lot of scratching going on. The countersink bits I use, I do have two different types of countersink bits. I have the kind that have the single flute from Cleveland Tool, and I also have the kind that have 3 cutters on it. I found that the ones from Cleveland work much better. They don't chatter, and they make a very nice countersink. I also use those types of bits on the trailing edge of the rudder. And like I said, it just takes time. You have about 10 feet of spar. Really gives you perspective on how big that elevator is once you put those spars on the table. What I'm doing, I am getting all of the parts deburred, dimpled, countersunk, trial fitted, taken apart, and I am getting them prepped for primer. So when I do go to prime, I'm going to prime the vertical stabilizer, the rudder, and the horizontal stabilizer parts all at one time. I'm not going to do the inside of the skins. I think it's a little overkill. I do live in Texas, so I don't live next to the ocean or anything like that. And I also think that the aluminum coating on the skins are just fine. It's mostly the skeleton that I'm concerned with the priming. I am using AXO. It's sitting in the back there. I'm just waiting for a good day to do it. The temperatures here have been a little bit below the minimums for spraying the primer. I'm waiting for around 60 degrees and a little bit higher. Here you can see I'm using my Dremel tool with a Scotch-Brite pad attached to it. Instead of using a Lumiprep, which I do have, I figured it's just easier to use a little muscle and Scotch-Brite on the parts to create that mechanical surface for adhesion. I think that's the requirement. If you have something else or you think that this is not appropriate enough for the primer to stick, let me know. I scuff everything, and then I use some denatured alcohol, and I just clean all the parts. I think it's just easier than the Aluma prep. So for the rest of this video, I am just Scotch-Briting everything, both spars and all the parts. So with that, I'm just going to let this video run out.